Aloha, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to your Committee on Education. Today we are hearing about 14 resolutions in tandem on the agenda. Today's date is Tuesday, March 31st, and it is 2:11 p.m. So in conference room 309. So we're gonna get started with HCR 11, HR 14. Requesting the Board of Education in partnership with the State Public Charter School Commission to submit a report on increasing access to stable, suitable, and affordable facilities for public charter schools. First up, we have Board of Education providing comments. We have Hawaii State Public Charter School Commission.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Ed No, Executive Director of the Hawaii Public Charter School Commission. And we stand on our written testimony in support. This has been a very important issue for many decades since the charter school law has passed. So we find this to be very good news and a good step forward. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Office of Hawaiian Affairs offering comments on Zoom.
Sorry. Present but muted.
Okay. Sure. Ms. Freitas, are you there?
Sorry, my computer is glitching. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you for your patience. Aloha, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Lachika, and members of the committee. OHA provides comments on this measure. OHA appreciates the intent of this measure and also wanted to provide some background and context regarding charter school facilities. OHA has long advocated for charter school facilities specifically, and over 10 years ago, this very body called upon the Charter School Commission to develop criteria to outline the distribution of appropriated funds for charter school facilities. As part of that working group's report, which successfully includes its findings of a prioritization framework, it also is contingent upon an appropriation from the legislature. Unlike DOE schools, public charter schools have been forced to use purposeful funding for facilities without a dedicated appropriation. Especially after these Kona low storms, there are likely impacts to makeshift and temporary structures that charter schools often use. And so mahalo for considering our comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Kulia Academy offering testimony in support and Hawaii Technology Academy offering testimony in support. Also have 6 individuals offering testimony in support for the HCR 11 and HR 14. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in person or in line on these measures? Okay, seeing none. Members, Chair, any questions? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the next items in tandem. HCR 181, HR 171, requesting the Department of Education to convene a shared decision-making committee to develop an action plan to establish a K-12 Kaiapuni school in Kapolei. First up, we have Hawaii State Board of Education offering comments. We have, sorry, I think I'm reading up the wrong one. First up, we have the Department of Education offering comments.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Lachika, Chair Woodson, members of the committee. I'm Tammy Chun, Deputy Superintendent. We're offering comments on this resolution. I wanted to inform the committee that Kaiapuni education has been something that we've worked very hard on and put a lot of effort into in terms of strategic planning. The Department of Education developed a strategic plan for Kaiapuni education, which would address our medium to long-term plans for enrollment, accommodating the interest of families for having their children in Kaiapuni education, and better developing the capacity. One of our main constraints to further expansion is the number of qualified teachers. We are operating in a situation where we rely on a Hawaiian permit for unlicensed teachers who are proficient in Hawaiian to be able to teach our students because there's just a shortage of licensed Kaiapuni teachers. And actually, we also have a limitation on the number of permit holders as well. So just a couple of stats to share with you. Over the last 10 years, we've increased enrollment in our DOE Kaiapuni programs by 1,000 students and are currently at about 2,600 students enrolled in Kaiapuni education in DOE schools. There are also public charter schools that are Hawaiian immersion. In DOE, we have expanded the number of schools with the Kaiapuni program from 14 to 26 over the last 10 years, and we are opening two new programs next year. In January, we issued both interim guidance, which addresses immediate needs, and the strategic plan, which will address longer term growth. And in regards, and we really wanted to focus on how do we accommodate growth and then also make sure that students are getting a quality education. So with regard to Kapolei specifically, which is the focus of this resolution, Kapolei has newly established programs for Kaiapuni at Kapolei Middle and Kapolei High School. This is the first year at Kapolei High School. The nearest elementary schools are at Waiau Elementary and Nanakoli Elementary. And so, we'd be happy to share the strategic plan for anyone who hasn't already seen it and engage in conversations not just about Kapolei, but our Kaiapuni statewide. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Pearl City Neighborhood Board, Ms. Duran offering testimony in support. And we have few individuals representing Kealohi o Eva, starting with Ms. Andrea Diaz Machado, offering testimony in support. Aloha mai kākou, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair LaChica, and the members of the House Committee on Education. Ovao o Andrea Diaz Machado. No ho'au ma hono'uli ma ka moku o Eva. He pelikikena au o Kealohi o Eva. Aloha kākou. I am sharing testimony in strong support of House Resolution 171 and HCR 181. Kealohi o Eva, meaning the brilliance of Eva, celebrates the majesty and mo'olelo of the Eva Moku. Our name connects us directly to Keawalau o Pu'uloa, the many harbored seas of Pu'uloa. Pu'uloa was once known for its rich abundance of marine resources, in particular the pearl oysters that are known as Nai'a Haumauleo, the silence fish. These prized characteristics of Pu'uloa reflect the vision we see in our keiki's potential. Our keiki and opio are the momi, the pearls that glisten and shine with the brilliance and the emanating light of Ike from our kupuna. Thus, our purpose is to illuminate the brilliance of our keiki through a system of Hawaiian education that is place-based and delivered maka'olelo Hawaii. We envision a system of Hawaiian education where all learners achieve academic excellence through an ancestral connection to the stories, traditions, and practices of their place. The establishment of a K-12 Kula Kaiapuni in Kapolei will bring this vision to life. Our kula and the haumana who will be educated there will be a living manifestation of the olelo no'eau, ua lehu a mano ka ikena a ka Hawaii. Great and numerous is the knowledge of the Hawaiians. Mahalo nui for your time, presence, and opportunity to testify. I strongly urge the committee to vote in favor of these resolutions for the Mauli Ola well-being of our Kaia'ulu Ola. Mahalo. Oh, thank you. Next, also from Kealohi o Eva, Kaipanohea.
Aloha mai kākou. Chair, Vice Chair, distinguished members of the committee. Hovau no o Kaiponohea hale, noho wau ma Pauoa o Ahu. Ma waena o Nu'uanu a me Makiki. Ua hanau ia wau ma leila, a i ki manawa noho wau ma leila, ma ka hale o ko'u ohana. My name is Kaiponohea Hale. I'm a proud native of Pauoa. I don't even come from Kapolei, but I live in Pauoa all my life. And I'm surrounded by Nu'uanu, Makiki, Papakolea, and the beautiful valley of Pauoa. I lived with my grandmother, Mariah, Kekaiku i Halanamahoi from Hawaii Island. And she taught me and instilled in me the pride of knowing who you are as a native Hawaiian, and to learn your language well because it is the foundation of our lahui. It is also important for me to know that around my area in Paoa, there are wahi kupuna that I honor. Kupanihi, Puawaina, Ulahai Malama, the rain of Popo Kapa that comes from the valley of Nuuanu into Paoa, the beautiful wind, the Puahiu winds. These are all things relevant to my area of Paoa. I say this as my leo kāko'o to you today in support of the very first establishment of Ikula Kaiapuni in West Oahu in Kapolei. Why? I sit on the board as an executive director to help support this initiative. And for the first time in a long time, I realized there is an opportunity for these haumana to understand and learn our olelo, and to be surrounded by areas such as Makaha, Waianae, Makakilo, Kalailoa, Maili, Nanakuli, and come to this area in Kapolei where they can embrace our Olelo Hawaii through immersion programs and classes to learn about their areas that surround them, to honor and embrace the wahikupuna of our ancestors and be proud as a lahui, who we are. And my grandmother always mentioned to me, remember where you come from and remember who you are. But first and foremost, embrace the olelo because it is the foundation, it is the lifeblood of our people. So I stand here, or I sit here, to ask for your encouragement to hopefully embrace this new initiative in Kapolei, Oahu. Mahalo nui.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, we have Ms. Kiana Rodriguez, also providing testimony and support. Not here. We have Changemakers Community Economic Development Corporation offering testimony and support, and Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs also offering testimony and support. And members, we have for HR 181 and HR 171, 32 individuals also testify in support of these measures. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on these measures before us here in person or online? Okay, seeing none, members, questions? Please.
I'm gonna ask Anela Iwane, who's our education specialist for Kaiapuni Education, to join me.
You're from OA?
Hi.
Okay, thank you. What is the demand for Kaiapuni education in this area, geographic area?
So we're currently, the department just launched a Kaiapuni priority placement process, or it's a mouthful, process to kind of understand and see where families would like to attend. And so we just launched the first phase in February, and we're in the second phase of it. So we don't have that data just yet, but that is something that we hope to do through this strategic action of understanding demand across the state.
So for Kapolei in particular, for our middle school and high school, where those programs are new and small, so they can accommodate any additional interests that families may have for students who are prepared for those programs. For our elementary program, that has been, the nearest ones I mentioned are at Waiau and Nanakuli. Nanakuli has space for additional students to enroll. Waiau has been kind of at capacity for a long time, but we are through this process, new process that Anela shared about. We're doing our best to accommodate all those who express interest early in newly enrolling in the school. We're optimistic.
What was the process for establishing those particular schools at those areas?
So there was for the middle and the high school. So for the middle school, the process for establishing it was there was a clear interest coming, especially for students coming out of Waiau, to have something more closer to the leeward side for secondary school. So it took several years of planning, and we started out about 3 or 4 years ago with a satellite program from Anuenue serving our students at Kapolei. And then I believe this is the first year that Kapolei Middle has their own program that's a program of Kapolei at the school, after we had that partnership with the two schools for a few years to stand up the program. Kapolei High School just opened this year with 9th grade because we saw the eighth graders rising out of the middle school program.
If you were to move forward with this proposal, is there a possibility though that there would be more families that would be interested in going in this direction?
It's possible. I do think that the priority placement process, which was essentially an opportunity for families whose children are newly entering into Kaipuni program to identify which schools they preferred, because Kaipuni is an open enrollment process statewide. Through that process, we're starting to better understand where the families live and where they want to go their children to be in school. So I do think it's possible. There's always a growing interest in our Kaipuni programs, but we do know that this is the first time we're systematically seeing statewide what the level of interest, say in kindergarten entry, would be for our programs, and doing our best to accommodate every family we can to the extent as possible.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Quick follow-up. So in the past, what has been the structure in order to be able to determine when a program can still be offered the following years, as a student is in the program and then continues to get placed into the next program, as you mentioned, like for a while, right? It suddenly stops after in middle school, and so what has been the structure before to kind of have them be in a sustainable pathway?
So I'm gonna answer in a slightly different way. The interim guidance that just came out provides a little more structure for planning on how our schools are gonna be expanding, and to be more clear about the kinds of resources that are available as we start up new programs, and then also to be able to describe what happens, say, when students are at that Kaipuni programs are programs of a school, and then what happens when students of that school are at the final grade level of that school, say they're 5th or 6th grade, and they need to get to middle school, for example. And so we now have more of an organized process of identifying planning ahead for when we need to open, say, a middle school program or a high school program for students that are rising. So when we look at our students we look at our capacity of our existing programs. So for example, Kapolei Middle has space to accommodate more students. We know that in Leeward area, there are at least options for families who live in that area.
Thank you so much. Follow-up question for Yellow. Yellow, or Emma, please. Yes, please. Whoever would like to come. Thanks for being here. So I know you've done a lot of the community work, community engagement work. Have you gotten a chance to take a look at the new strategic plan that was just released by the department, and what, if you can kind of comment or share what your experience has been in working with them on this process, and also if you have any comments on what they shared, that it really is incumbent upon having established qualified teachers proficient in Olelo to be able to even offer a classroom.
Yeah, I mean, I agreed that there aren't enough teachers, and that's why Kealohio Eva is committed to creating this system of Hawaiian education, because we need to solve the problem, right? This problem has been going on for far too long. So one of our strategies is to create a Kumu recruitment and retention program that would train Kumu from our side of the island, and working with LCC and UH West Oahu, now that there is a dual chancellor, Pendalosa is overseeing both campuses, and we've had conversations with him. We feel like we have all of the pieces, but we need to work together. So community working with the Department of Education and the UH system, which is why we advocated for this shared decision-making committee, so that we can create collective impact together. I come from, I was a longtime educator in the community, so I see this work from the ground up as well, from the top down, and I see the pukas, and I believe that we have all of the ingredients we need to address these pukas. And it really does take us us bringing and weaving all of our strengths together, because we in the community, we have relationships, we're the lifeline of community, and then the resources, that institutional resources are very much needed in order to bring this all to fruition. I haven't worked directly with their strategic plan. I know of it very at a surface level with this new rollout of I think you called it a preference, what is it called?
Placement.
Priority placement. This is for a kindergarten, correct? This is a kindergarten rollout? Okay, so yeah, so when our students come to middle school, why the numbers are so small is because they're already in the pipeline, right? So you cannot start immersion in 7th grade. You have to start it when you're young. So these kids are already in, but if we establish an elementary, which is why the K-12 is so important, because that's where we're gonna get the numbers of students. When you look at Kapule's numbers of Hawaiians that live there, there are over 700 school-age homestead children at the time of 2020 census data. So we know there's much more, right? So at that time, we already had enough to create a school, right? If we look forward to the continued development of Hawaiian homestead, there is anticipated to be 2,000 Hawaiian homes built, which will make Kapolei the highest Native Hawaiian population in the world, right? So I was a part of the group that advocated for the establishment of Kekula Kaiopuni o Kapolei. I don't believe it would have happened without that community advocacy. And Kaiopuni has been birthed from makua, from parents. We continue to be a part of a genealogy of parents that have fought really hard to have this access to Hawaiian education. And when we think about that and where we're at right now, we've come a long way, and it's been hard work. And in terms of how do we take what we've learned in establishing Kapolei, we also have a roadmap of how we can help other communities establish what they want, and understanding that there aren't teachers. So when we decided that we wanted it to happen in Kapolei, and we worked with Anela to have that happen, and we appreciate the Office of Hawaiian Education in that coordination, we chose Kapolei because we understood how many Hawaiians would live there and how many Hawaiians could be served there, right? So I came from Pro City. We didn't say, oh, we're gonna have it in Pro City. That would have been easy. But we chose Kapolei because we believe that Kapolei can serve 3 land districts in a centralized area, right? So with transportation, with creating a kumu recruitment and retention program, we can solve this problem. It is possible. So I'm very passionate about this, and know that the community is very excited about what we've created in Kapolei, and that future parents that want to send their kids to the future K-12 for Kapolei, they're right now, one parent is going to Waiau, one parent is going to Maili for Punana Leo. They're sacrificing their life so that their kids can continue to access Hawaiian education, and we don't ask that of the English side schools, right? So it is just an injustice for Hawaiian education in the indigenous place of Hawaiians.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Mahalo.
Follow-up question for
Yeah, Chair
Andrea.
Yes.
You mentioned that there's gaps. What gaps do you see in the build-out of education?
Well, I think the gaps are, and again, like I don't know everything, right? I only see what I see, but I do feel that whatever is happening with training and recruiting kumu, it's just not working, because we continue to have, and I'm not putting blame on anybody, I'm just saying that that's the reality. If we don't have enough licensed teachers, so I'm wondering, like, what solutions and what barriers can we remove so that more teachers can be licensed? Like what is that solve, right? I just think, like, when you think of secondary kumu and Kaiopuni, they're like unicorns because they have to be proficient in the language and licensed in a content area. Okay, so both of those things are important, but is there a way, or I believe there's a way, that how do you crosswalk both of those those requirements into one license, right? So I'm about how do we solve problems that exist and think differently and act differently? So I would say that's a gap, because when we think about Waiao being established for almost 40 years ago, we're still here, right? And we shouldn't be. So I would say having community voice as a decision-making part of the system of education is a gap. And that's why I wanted to create a shared decision-making committee, because we are often asked or advised after the fact, but not actually having voter decision-making power at the table, right? So we create our own tables, but for us to be truly effective is for all of us to be at the same table and to really see the wealth of resources that we all have and braid them all together with the interests of the keiki in the center, always.
So how would you set up this Kumu retention program that you referred to earlier?
Oh, great question. Okay, so one of our strategies is kukulu kumu, right? So building this program is having kumu in training as well as current kumu kayapuni working with cultural practitioners to create K-12 scope and sequence academically aligned curriculum of Eva, right? So the stories of Eva, like how Kaipo shared stories of Pauoa, like I talked about Pu'uloa. There are so many stories that can really be like really on the undergirth of really what they're learning. So they're learning through culture, not about culture, but they're learning about math and they're learning about science. They're learning all the academic content areas, but they're learning it through the eyes of our kupuna and through the stories of our kupuna. So I see that we get those experts to create the curriculum, and then the teacher, the kumu in training, as they're going through the program, they're actually applying their lessons as like a lab school at Kikula Kaiopuni o Kapolei. So they're experimenting their lessons at the kula. They're iterating those lessons based on feedback and based on observations and based on meeting the standards. And they're also implementing these lessons with families as well as community. So I see that we can address the gap that we have with curriculum by Kumu creating curriculum and then testing it out with the students at Kapolei. So Kapolei becomes a lab school in that they're applying what they're creating, and then they're iterating those lessons based on feedback and ensuring that those lessons are scaffolded to academic standards.
Thank you, Chair.
Board members, any other questions? Thank you so
Mahalo.
much. Let's move on to the next measures in tandem. HCR 187, HR 177, urging the Department of Education to begin initiatives to address teacher retention in the state. First up, we have Department of Education offering testimony in person with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Sean Bacon speaking on behalf of the department. We stand on our written testimony offering comments on this. We really support the intent of this resolution to really focus on teacher retention. There are multiple initiatives that the department and the state has really been working on. One of the things is we have the Teacher Education Coordinating Committee that is already currently in statute, that we're meeting closely with the universities, the Standards Board, and others to really look at this. There is a 5-year plan that the TECC has developed, talking about building capacity, increasing satisfaction, and looking at compensation. We've also recently had multiple other work groups, but one of the things too is the department recently, or the Board of Education recently, this past meeting in March, just approved a new human resources plan for the department. We've been working on over the past year, iterating different versions, really seeing how we can better support some of our locals here and build our workforce from some of our local high school students in pipelines. So we're available for any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Next up, we have Dean Murata from University of Hawaii offering testimony in person.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Nathan Murata, Dean UH Manoa College of Education. Thank you for the opportunity to offer comments to this particular bill. The University of Hawaii College of Education, believes that teacher retention strategies are necessary to address the teacher shortages. As my colleague just mentioned, there is a TECC committee that we already co-chair with the superintendent and I. And one of our strategic initiatives deals specifically with we call it in-service teacher retention, but it's basically a retention measure. I'm also here to mention too that we look forward to working with you and partnering with the Department of Education to have some of these strategies, teacher shortage strategies come to fruition. So I'm available for comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also have Kumu Connect offering testimony and support, and 5 individuals offering testimony and support both for HCR 187, HR 177. Anyone else wishing to testify on these measures? Okay, seeing none, members, questions?
I have a back
Yes,
question,
go
Chair.
ahead, Chair.
For the Department of Education, please. Okay, thank you for being here again. So per your testimony, you say that you folks are working on through the TECC committee. But you're building capacity for teacher, for EEP programs. You're also providing increased satisfaction. Let's just say increased satisfaction for service teachers. I don't know exactly what that means or how you're doing it. And you're also looking at more competitive compensation. Where are you with those 3 variables that you're looking at?
Okay, so thank you for the question. Again, so our Board of Education just recently approved the new Human Resources Plan. I think some of the things that we're really looking at is trying to provide better data to some of our principals on why some of our teachers may be exiting. We currently right now do an employment report on an annual basis. However, at this point, some of that data is not disaggregated low enough down to the principal, so we'd like to be able to get specific school level data to some of our principals, and then also provide guidance and feedback on how they can address some of the data that's specific to their actual school and locations. We are currently right now going to be starting the process, the Hawaii State Teachers Association and the department, the contract that we currently have with the teachers union set to expire June of 27. So we should be starting negotiations here probably within the next 3 to 4 months to start that process to look at ways that we can improve the contract and also possibly look at compensation for the next contract.
Were you just referring to the apprenticeship program?
So which one?
The apprenticeship program?
So the apprenticeship program, I didn't talk about the apprenticeship program. There was a grant that was given to the Hawaii Teachers Standards Board. We are in the process of working to get that grant moving at this point. We were in a consultant confer process with the unions. We have concluded that consultant confer process recently, and we need to just begin working on the next steps on implementation of that. And working closely with the Standards Board and also the DLIR.
When does that grant expire?
I'd have to check. I believe there's 1 additional year on the grant. I believe I don't have the exact date in front of me, Representative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Follow up, please say, and then can I also have Dean Murata come up? Assistant Superintendent, the HR plan, you said, is that separate from the strategic plan that Tech has for teacher retention?
Okay, so the Board of Education has a strategic plan, and built in the strategic plan is a goal to a high quality workforce, which is the Human Resources Plan, which is part of the board's strategic plan.
Okay, so separate then from what Tech is currently developing.
So yes, the board's plan, and then TECC has a separate plan, yes.
Dean, can you share a little bit about the plan? When did you start developing it? Is it ready to be shared with the public, or what's currently happening with your strategic plan?
Thank you for the question. The TCC actually, we've been working, initially started as a 5-year strategic plan. It actually had more than 3 objectives. We actually started off with about 5 or 6. 2 years ago, we brought it down to 3 major buckets, initiatives of which is in our testimony. One is the building capacity, that's your pipeline. The in-service retention piece is number 2, and compensation was number 3. Right now, because it's more high level, because the TECC is made up of members that are also from the private sector. The Chaminade University, HPU, BYU, Hawaii, so, and Standards Board and HSTA. And so a lot of the conversations are centered around priorities from the department and how all the EPPs can address the needs of teachers for the public schools and some of our private our charter schools. So right now, we're at a point where, you know, we are trying to make some recommendations to you all. But we're also finding that these 3 buckets are also still somewhat not in a space where we can share out exactly what we have. But we may have to look at getting together and just focus on 1 instead of 3. In order for us to really get to a space where we can actually come up with a very strong and positive kinds of recommendation. And so that's what we're dealing with this year as I chair the TECC, because the superintendent and I alternate who the TECC chairperson is. So from the membership, the discussion is centering around the fact that from these 3, we may have to come up with 1. And to me, the lowest hanging fruit appears to be the teacher retention space, our objective number 2. Objective number 2. Because I think we have strategies that we're discussing to how to increase compensation, how to keep our teachers in our classrooms. Teacher housing is something that might be beyond our wheelhouse, but we can also advocate for that as a TECC group. So we're looking at all these different things right now and working closely with the department to come with these recommendations so that they can be real and come to fruition at some point.
So how long have you been working on the current plan?
Oh, gosh, we started this back in probably we have records going back to probably right around pandemic time. So it's been
2020, but you're still working on the plan, and you may still yet to identify what rises to the top
as a group
strategy.
Yeah, yes, and again, because it's not only UH system and the department, it includes the private sector. So it includes the union, so it takes the TECC is relatively large.
The plan continues to morph over the years.
Yes,
too.
yes.
So there are things that we have completed in the plan, and there are new things that come up. So the plan continually changes on a year-to-year basis.
Is the direction then that TECC will step up to do more and could include some of these additional factors that the Rezo is asking for, such as housing challenges, right? Like that's also contributing to attrition. Or are you saying you need to scale back and redirect your focus on either compensation, in-service satisfaction, or teacher prep?
The building capacity. Yeah, well, I think right now, I think the retention piece would probably be the area that we could really gain some traction on quicker than perhaps advocating for teacher compensation. Because there are things that Manoa is currently doing to address the retention issue. And there are others that are doing things to address the retention issue. And so we are probably looking at that at this point, and we're right in the midstream of this current TECC year. So by the year's end, we should have something very more concrete to deliver as far as the annual report to the legislature.
Do you have any objections on the information that the Rezo is asking for? Factors contributing to teacher retention, including educator experiences, compensation, which you already include, housing challenges, and regional workforce needs.
Yeah, well, I think the regional workforce, I think a lot of us are doing that already, looking at where, grow our own and keeping people, the candidates, in their communities. I think we're doing that. I think the housing and the compensation piece, we can just be more of a sounding board to advocate for that, to be in support of, but to actually come up with some concrete strategies on what to do to keep teachers in the classroom. I think the retention piece is, at least from Manoa's perspective, and part of the TECC, is to look at specific things that we can do, that we can control, such as providing, very limited or free tuition to in-service teachers so that they can move up the salary scale for salary reclassification as an example, in order for them to stay in the classroom. So that's a strategy that we're working on that ties into our second bucket. So that's why I'm saying that would probably be from a TEC standpoint, an area that we would certainly be like a low-hanging fruit that we could address, so.
But the Department of Education did do a survey, right, on workforce survey on housing challenge, housing
Yes, there was
interest.
a survey that was done last year, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other questions? Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to our next tandem on the agenda. We are at HCR 47, HR 43, requesting the Department of Education to support the establishment of foundations in public high schools to offer scholarships and financial aid to graduates and provide financial support to the schools. First up, we have DOE testifying with comments.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Elizabeth Higashi on behalf of the department providing comments, just stating, reinforcing at this time that in order to implement such a program, we would definitely need additional support and resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's all we have signed up to testify in person. We have also one individual submitting testimony for both measures in support. Anyone else wishing to testify? Please come, go ahead. Please identify yourself.
Chair, Vice Chair, committee members, dedicated staff. My name is Alan Awaya. I'm a graduate of Kalani High School, 1966. Do the math, it's 60 years ago. When I graduated, you would be very fortunate to get a scholarship, maybe $100. But at that time, when I attended the University of Hawaii, tuition was $116.25. And it didn't change for the 6.5 years that I attended UH. But still, I had to work every year I was in school. I was fortunate to be able to go to graduate school, which was $3,200 a year on the mainland. I depleted my savings. I borrowed money. I took out student loans. I asked my sister for $1,000. And I, again, worked every year that I was in grad school. It took me 10 years to pay it off. Now UH is not $116.25 anymore. And when students graduate from high school, except for a very few schools, they don't have the resources that are offered to them, like you would find maybe at McKinley High School, Farrington High School, and a few other places. So what I'm asking for now as the president of the Kalani High School Foundation is to help make this a reality. I've been at it now for a year and a half. I have a board finally of 5 people. We have yet to fundraise. The funds we have are $5,000, which I pledged in 2012 in this building when I introduced a Senate concurrent resolution. I promised Kalani High School I would give them $5,000 when they established an endowment fund. Well, here we are. And when it came down to 2024, that $5,000 still sat in my savings account. And so I said, well, I guess I'm gonna have to be the one that starts this foundation. And it's been very frustrating. And mostly it's because I'm mostly clueless. I'm just a guy off the street, a former teacher of 20 years, trying to do something that requires legal knowledge, technology knowledge, accounting, investment, fundraising, event planning, all those kinds of things which I don't have the experience in. And what I'm asking for in this resol is there a source I can tap into? Oh, Tammy just gave me her phone number, so Tammy's gonna get calls from me. And she said she would be able to answer my questions. But I need to be able to, I should have been able to ask somebody to call, get on the phone and say, here's a question I have. Or do you have a template that I can create the 501c3, the charter, the bylaws, all those kinds of things, which we have to do from scratch, not knowing how to do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Awaya, for being here. Members, questions? Just quick question for the department. Hi, Beth. Just in response to Mr. Awaya's comments, will the department, is it something that the department can provide him technical assistance on specific to his high school?
So I think that's a challenging question. And usually, what I can say is when schools do create their foundations, they oftentimes reach out to their alumni base. And I think usually in your alumni base, you look for people who have legal expertise, accounting expertise. We often as a department remain very separate because they are separate entities. I am aware that sometimes some of our foundations reach out to Hawaii Alliance of Nonprofit Organizations, HANO. In addition to, I do know that Hawaii Community Foundation also does some support. So oftentimes we may redirect when principals or we get those kinds of requests. We try to redirect to other organizations that have that expertise around nonprofits that we just don't have, and we don't want to give misguided information in regarding these areas of expertise that we just don't possess.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Other questions? Okay. Seeing none, let's move on to HCR 44, HR 40, urging the DOE to co-develop a 6th to 12th grade AI literacy and usage curriculum with teachers. First up, we have DOE offering comments.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Winston Sakurai representing the department. We stand on a written testimony offering comments and just wanted to share we believe the expertise of teachers is super important when developing curriculum, especially with artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Kulia Academy offering testimony and support. Democratic Party of Hawaii Education Caucus offering testimony and support, and one individual testifying on both measures in support. Anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 44, HR 40? Seeing none. Members, questions? Seeing none, let's move on to HCR 161, HR 151, requesting the DOE to establish a swimmer classification framework for public schools. First up, we have DOE offering comments.
Good afternoon, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair LaChica, Heidi Armstrong, Department of Education. We've submitted our testimony. We support the intent and we've explained our comments and concerns in our written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also have Department of Health offering testimony in support on both measures. Anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 161, HR 151? Seeing none. Members, questions? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to HCR 102, HR 94, urging the Department of Education, Department of Health, and Office of Wellness and Resilience to establish a statewide peer counselor program to address youth loneliness and social disconnection in Hawaii schools. First up, we have Department of Education offering comments.
Good afternoon. The department stands on its written testimony, offering comments with this, in supporting the intent of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Office of Wellness and Resilience offering testimony and support.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Naomi Leipold with the Office of Wellness and Resilience. We stand on our testimony of support, and we also want to uplift our colleagues at Department of Education's their recommendation for a phased approach, and we support that as well. Thank you for hearing us.
Thank you so much. We also have testimony in support from Hawaii State Youth Commission via Zoom.
Aloha Chair Woodson, Vice Chair LaChica, and members of the House Committee on Education. The Hawaii State Youth Commission's Education Legislative Committee is in strong support of HR 94. While challenges stemming from loneliness, isolation, and anxiety in Hawaii's youth existed before the COVID-19 pandemic, the loss of in-person connection and growing reliance on social media and digital communication have worsened these issues. Many students feel disconnected from their peers, school communities, and support systems. As youth leaders, we know that students are more likely to talk to a trusted friend or peer before seeking help from an adult. When students know there's someone their age who is trained to listen, support, and refer them to additional help if needed, it can reduce stigma and create a stronger sense of belonging in schools. This reso takes an important step by encouraging a statewide peer counselor program that is both standardized and locally responsive. Training in active listening, trauma-informed practices, ethical boundaries, and cultural responsiveness would ensure that peer counselors are equipped to support fellow students in a safe and meaningful way. It is especially important that the program reflects Hawaii's unique cultures and communities, recognizing that Native Hawaiian and local values are deeply rooted in relationships, connection, and caring for one another. We also appreciate the inclusion of youth voice in the development and evaluation of this program. We should not only be the recipients of support, but also partners in shaping solutions. By involving students from different islands, communities, and backgrounds, the state can ensure that this program meets the real needs of Hawaii's youth. For these reasons, the HIYC respectfully urges the adoption of HR 94. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much. We also have testimony and support from Aloha Independent Living Hawaii, offering testimony and support on both measures. Anyone else wishing to testify on HR 102, HR 94? Okay, seeing none, members' questions? Seeing none, let's move on to HCR 107, HR 99, urging the DOE to support academic flexibility and equity for students with chronic and autoimmune illnesses. First up, we have Department of Education offering testimony in support.
Good afternoon. The department stands on its written testimony in support.
Thank you so much. We have Aloha Independent Living Hawaii offering testimony in support. We have Hawaii Disability Rights Center offering testimony in support. We have one individual offering testimony in support via Zoom, Ms. Sarah Adler Refen.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and distinguished members of the committee. I'm sharing testimony in strong support of HCR 107 and HR 99. I'm somebody who personally lives with an autoimmune chronic illness, and I'm also a social worker who works with children who experience chronic and autoimmune illnesses. So I've seen the impact this has on their lives and just how disabling it really can be. And I believe that these children deserve accommodations to have the same chances for success as any other child. Mahalo.
Thank you so much. We also have testimony in support from 4 individuals on both measures. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 107, HR 99? Seeing none, members' questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the next tandem, HCR 118, HR 110, urging the DOE to strengthen menstrual health education initiatives and to adopt a comprehensive menstrual cycle curriculum. First up, we have DOE offering comments.
Good afternoon. The department stands on our written testimony, supporting the intent and offering our comments in our testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Hawaii State Commission on the Status of Women offering testimony in support. We have Ma'i Movement Hawaii offering testimony in support via Zoom.
Aloha Chair Woodson, Vice Chair LaChica, and members of the committee. I'm Nikia Ni, co-founder of Ma'i Movement Hawaii. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify, and I stand on my written testimony in strong support of the measure. 4 years ago, in this very committee under your leadership, we passed landmark legislation making period products free in all schools. We are forever grateful to the legislature and the DOE for all that they have done and continue to do. We're here today not in criticism, but as a continuation of that work. When we ran the pilot in the 6 schools, we knew even then that education and access went hand in hand. At the time, we assumed that menstrual health education was already in place, but schools kept asking us for educational materials, and it was clear that students did not receive or were not receiving adequate education. Some were opening tampons because they didn't know what it was. Others mistook pads for candy because of their packaging. But when they did receive education, and we did everything that we could to supplement with how-tos and flyers in Canva or sending our educational booklets. And we noticed that it gave students confidence, empathy, and the knowledge to support themselves and their peers. I can talk more on data points, but I don't need to look further than my own family. When I started my movement with my sisters in 2020, my son was 7 and my daughter was 11 at the time. 6 years later, I can see how the education that we gave them has changed and shaped their understanding of themselves and how they show up for others. They know more about the menstrual cycle and management than myself or even my husband knew at their age. If we can create that environment in our homes, then we can and should do the same in our schools. We've already taken the first step together by ensuring and giving access to free period products. This resolution is a natural next step, and we respectfully ask for your support. Mahalo for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. We also have testimony and support from She's in Office Maui and Democratic Party of Hawaii Education Caucus also submitted testimony and support. We also have testimony and support from Imua Alliance, testimony and support from the Hope Initiative Hawaii, and we have individuals signed up to testify via Zoom, starting with Ms. Joelle Watanabe in support.
Aloha everyone, my name is Joel Watanabe and I'm a 2024 graduate of Mauna Loa High School and I currently attend Boston University. I stand on my written testimony and support HCR 118 and HR 110 and being passed. To begin with, I wish I had known more about what a period is at an earlier age as I got my first period when I was 9 years old. I genuinely thought I was dying when I saw that there was blood in my underwear as I was using the bathroom. I don't remember receiving any information about the menstrual cycle in my sex ed course in elementary school, nor my mandated health classes in middle or high school. I remember attempting to look up information about the menstrual cycle and what it entails myself. However, I felt ashamed about even looking it up due to internalized stigma. I pushed for menstrual education in Hawaii DOE public schools as I didn't have the opportunity to learn it at home. Like many students in the DOE public school system, my mother, the main provider of my household to 3 kids, including one who had a disability, would come home from 8 hours of work and Pauhana traffic worrying about putting food on the table for us for dinner, then doing chores afterward before the next day, and other parental duties. She obviously didn't have the time or emotional capacity to sit down with her kids to talk about a sensitive and important topic such as this. She relied on my sex ed class in 5th grade to teach me, but as I said earlier, menstrual education was not in the topics. Regardless if someone has access to menstrual education, the period will come anyway, at any age. It's important to be well prepared and to know how to manage one's menstrual health. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. We have Ms. Yuka Polovina offering testimony and support via Zoom.
Not present.
Not present. Ms. Jenny Brown offering testimony and support via Zoom.
Hello, Chair and committee members. My name is Jenny Brown. I'm a current student here at the University of Hawaii, a resident of Kapahulu Kamiki District, and I'm testifying in strong support of the resolution. And as a student advocate within higher ed, I've witnessed the powerful trickle-down effect that I believe this resolution will have an impact on. Within higher education, I serve as a student advocate, and a similar resolution to provide free period products free of charge to students at all the campuses within the UH system. As a student, that resolution itself allowed us to go to administrators with necessary leverage to open that discussion that would later secure budgets and resources we now see on our campuses. So at Leeward Community College, Kapiolani Community College, and UH Manoa. So by simply stating in this resolution, hey, we need to address this in our education, you empower those, similar to myself, and getting a little nervous, but administrators to push for funding and prioritization necessary to address this basic need. This issue is also deeply personal to myself. You know, I thought it was like one of the joys of being a woman. It turned out that was not normal. And this education, I strongly urge the committee to respectfully support the resolution. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. We also have testimony in opposition from Theresa Armbruster in person. Okay. Members, we also have testimony from 18 individuals in support for both measures. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 118, HR 110?
One on Zoom.
Hi.
Oh, there's one on Zoom. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Aloha Chair and committee members. My name is Layla Mae Gonzalez. I am a 2024 graduate of McKinley High School and I currently attend the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I am testifying in support of my written testimony for HR 110 and HCR 118. I got my first period when I was in 3rd grade. Everything was fine until it was a summer before 7th grade where I was menstruating for 13 days straight. I was running out of so much blood that I had to be taken to the ER. For a middle schooler, this was beyond what I had known regarding the menstrual cycle. My periods have gone back to regular cycles, but that experience will forever stick with me. For something that girls experience even much earlier than me and will have to live with for a significant portion of our lives, why aren't we taught more about menstrual health? Noting that education should be tackling issues such as stigma and serious conditions like PCOS or reproductive cancers. Because menstrual health and its complexities should be clearly defined and taught in the curriculum of K-12 schools, stressing the need for what needs to be achieved in terms of what students should be aware of when they graduate elementary school, then middle school, and then high school, because the curriculum shouldn't generalize menstrual health, but come to terms to accept that more needs to be done towards a bodily process that continues even much longer than the time we finish school by. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Elena, anyone else wishing to testify on these measures? Anyone in person? Okay. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to HCR 42, HR 38, urging the Department of Education to meet the criteria necessary to officially recognize cheerleading as a Title IX sport in Hawaii. First up, we have DOE offering testimony in support.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Sean Bacon on behalf of the department. We stand in support of this measure and are available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next, we also have testimony and support from the Hawaii State Commission on the Status of Women. And that's it. Anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 42, HR 38? Seeing none, members, questions? Seeing none. Let's move on to the next measures. HCR 176, HR 166, requesting the Department of Education to adopt policies and procedures regarding the storage and administration of oral antihistamines in public schools. First up, Department of Education in opposition.
Good afternoon. The department stands on its written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also have testimony in support from two individuals on both measures. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on these measures? Seeing none, members, questions? Seeing none, let's move on to HCR 84, HR 76, requesting the Department of Education to create a plan that removes carcinogens from school meals. First up, we have DOE offering testimony, offering comments. DOE. School meals as carcinogens? No worries. No pressure. Deputy.
Lord Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Lachika, members of the committee, Shantaji will testify on behalf of the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony with comments on this measure. The department is already transitioning away from processed meats. Currently, there are only 3 processed meats on the menu. There's breakfast sausage, pepperoni, and hot dog. We've already removed pepperoni from next year's menu, so next year we'll only have 2. Deli meat is also used for sandwiches just for field trips and emergency situations. In addition to this, we're moving toward more whole food and plant-based options and more scratch cooking. The plan for next year is to offer a second entree that's vegetarian or vegan. We're implementing these changes when our school food service branch and our school cafeterias are short-staffed right now. So we really want to prioritize our efforts into executing our current plan to integrate more scratch cooking and adding the second daily vegetarian or vegan option, rather than doing this through a specific mandate of this resolution at this time. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. We stand by for questions.
Thank you. We have Kauai Women's Caucus offering testimony in support. We have Rabbit Investment and World Works Entertainment offering testimony in support via Zoom. Not present. We have Ms. Victoria Anderson offering testimony in support via Zoom.
Aloha committee members. I'm Victoria Anderson and I live in Palolo. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. Every school day, tens of thousands of students in Hawaii rely on school meals for a significant portion of their daily nutrition. For many keiki, what they eat at school matters deeply, not just on the day, but for their long-term health. That's why it's concerning that processed like hot dogs, bacon, ham, and deli meats are still being served in our public schools. The World Health Organization has classified processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen, meaning there's clear evidence it causes cancer. These foods often contain preservatives like nitrates and nitrites, which are prone to form cancer-causing compounds in the body. To be clear, this resolution doesn't call for an overnight ban. It takes a thoughtful, practical approach, asking the Department of Education to study current menus, identify healthier protein alternatives, consider costs, and develop a plan to phase out processed meats by 2032, or ensure that healthier options, including fiber-rich proteins, are always available. Hawaii has already made meaningful progress for our children's health by expanding access to school meals and by working to incorporate more fresh local foods. This resolution is a natural next step that builds on that momentum. Other school systems across the country are already moving in this direction, showing that healthier meals can be both feasible and well accepted by students. Our keiki are especially vulnerable to the long-term impacts of diet. Habits formed in childhood go deep and can last a lifetime. By improving school meals, we support not only their ability to learn and thrive today, but their future health and longevity. This is a measured, science-based step to better protect our children. I respectfully urge your support of HCR 84 and 76. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony. We have Gordon Labette offering testimony in support. Mr. Labette, I think you're on mute. We're unable to hear you. So
Find his microphone where he is.
Mr. Labette, we might need to get back to you. I think it might be your microphone on your end. Is that okay? Okay. We have Mr. John Kawamoto offering testimony in support in person. Okay, not present. We have Climate Protectors Hawaii offering testimony in support, and 18 individuals offering testimony in support for both measures. Let's try one more time with Mr. Labette. I'm so sorry, we're unable to hear you at this time, but I think we have your testimony. Thank you so much. Okay, anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 84, HR 76? Okay, seeing none. Members' questions? Seeing none, let's move on to HCR 94, HR 86. Urging the Department of Education and Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity to jointly develop a farmer to institution coordination plan that is aligned with the Aina Kitchen network rollout. First up, we have Department of Education offering comments.
Hello, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Luchiko, and members of the committee. Sean Tajima testifying on behalf of the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony with comments on this measure. The department supports the intent of this measure and is already addressing the recent audit findings through a multi-agency work group and the rollout of a new school food service software for next school year. The multi-agency work group with the Department of Agriculture, DBED, Department of Health, Department of Transportation, the Agribusiness Development Corporation, University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture, Leeward Community College, and the Department of Labor will be formalized in an MOA sometime very soon. We appreciate the proposed resolution acknowledging the situation of understaffing both in DOE Food Services and the Department of Agriculture. We further appreciate funding and personnel to develop and execute a new formal plan beyond the strategic partnerships and modernizations already underway. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. We stand by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Deputy, we have Hawaii Farm Bureau offering testimony and support. You okay, Mr. Miyamoto?
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. I hope there's video. I think that guy pushed me, so I almost fell.
You caught yourself gracefully though. Very athletic, sir.
Good balance.
Reflexes like a sloth. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. You have our written testimony. We absolutely support any effort that's going to help with our farm to school, help with the Aina Kitchen network, help with the regional kitchens. But we do agree with the comments of the Department of Education. There is an ongoing effort, nurturing Hawaii's future. So what we wanna see if this resolution goes through, that it complements and there's no overlap. Again, you heard Department of Education AS Tajima, with the First Lady, Senator De La Cruz representing Kahaloa. These are the agencies, DBED, ADC doing some of the mapping along with CTAR, LCC and Department of Labor doing workforce development, KCC menu development with Ag Foundation, Department of Health, food safety, Department of Education, just the procurement issues, the regional kitchen, the farmer events that they're holding to connect farmers with DOE on some of the products that they want to purchase from them. Department of Education with the data, imported foods, pest management, regulatory and financial needs for farmers, even DOT talking about logistics as far as transportation and supply chains. So again, there's a lot of work being done. We want to complement that work. We believe that DOE, we're very optimistic. Again, I'll repeat it, I say all the time. This is the most engaged in my 21 years that I've seen at the Farm Bureau, the DOE been, with the leadership, with the support they're given. And if this was an easy task, it wouldn't have taken us decades and decades to get where we are, and we still have a long way to go. So again, support the intent, support the efforts, but we don't want to see any duplication. And we do support DOE's efforts along with all the other agencies, and we believe that there is a path forward, and we are still optimistic that we will achieve the 30 by 30 goal. So thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much for being here. We have Hawaii Food Industry Association offering testimony and support.
Not present.
Not present. We also have testimony and support from Hawaii Appleseed, from the Hawaii Agricultural Foundation in support, and one person offering testimony in support on both measures. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 94, HR 86? Seeing none, members, questions? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the final tandem measures on our agenda. HCR 195, HR 185, requesting the DOE to convene a working group to address the findings and recommendations of Auditor's Report number 2608 regarding the implementation of Hawaii's Farm to School and local food procurement initiatives. First up, we have DOE offering comments.
Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Lachiko, and members of the committee, Shantajima testify on behalf of the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony with comments on this measure. The department supports the intent of this measure, but notes that it is already executing a comprehensive response to the recent audit findings. The audit report is dated March 2026, and as of March 19, 2026, 4 of the 20 corrective actions have already been completed, 16 are already in progress. The department will also be rolling out a new school food service software next year. The department is already engaged in a multi-agency workshop with the agencies I mentioned in the previous testimony. A formalized MOA will be signed sometime very soon. We appreciate the legislature's support. The department would like to emphasize that the strategies in place and the addressing of the audit's corrective actions are well underway to increase progress towards our goal to increase locally sourced food in our school meals. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. We stand by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity offering testimony, offering comments.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Riley Yu from the Department of Agriculture Biosecurity. We stand on our written testimony with comments. Here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also have one individual submitting testimony in support on both measures. Okay, anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 195, HR 185? Okay, seeing none, members' questions? Okay, seeing none, we are going to take a short recess. Okay, reconvening the Committee on Education for decision making. First up, we have HCR 11, HR 14. This is on increasing access to facilities for public charter schools. We are going to pass out an HD1. We're gonna update the title so that instead of the Board of Education, we will make the State Public Charter School Commission take the lead in this effort. On page 196, the measure's author requests a typo be corrected from 1,300 to 13,000 students. On page 2, line 21, we will amend the request for the State Public Charter School Commission to conduct a study rather than submit a report, and we're gonna amend the title accordingly. We will also add an additional be it further resolved clause to request a report on the study be submitted to the legislature prior to the next session. On page 2, lines 39 to 40, we will also add that the Department of Accounting and General Services, DAGS, be added as an agency for the commission to obtain an updated list of unused or underutilized facilities pursuant to HRS 302D-25. Finally, we will update the distribution list to include the comptroller of DAGS and technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. That's it. Members, comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, chair for the vote, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members voting on HCR 11 and HR 14, Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Amato.
Aye.
Representative Eslin.
Aye.
Representative Garrett. Excused. Representative Capella.
Aye.
Representative Keela. Excused. Representative Olds.
Aye.
Representative Muraoka. Excused. Representative Souza. Excused. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. Next up, we have HCR 181, HR 171. This is on the Kayapuni establishment access in Kapolei. So for this one, we are gonna pass out an HD1. We are gonna request for the resolution to extend that instead of the full report being due prior to the regular session of 2027, we'll be asking instead for a progress report provided by the decision-making committee on the status of the action plan to be submitted prior to the regular sessions of 2027 and 28, and then make the final report due prior to the regular session of 2029. This is just to give them more time to convene as a group, work with the Department of Education. And we are also going to add a clause on page 4 on the be it further resolved on line 11. We're gonna take what was noted in the testimony by the Department of Education and say that addressing the hiring and recruitment of qualified teachers proficient in Olelo Hawaii is also necessary to inform the action plan. And that's it for the amendments. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, chair for the vote, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members voting on HCR 181, HR 171, noting the excused absences of Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza. Members, are there any reservations or no's? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you, Chair. On HCR 187, HR 177 on addressing teacher retention in the state, we are going to pass out an HD1. We are gonna add a new whereas and be it resolved clause to include the Teacher Education Coordinating Committee, TEC. And we're also going to delete the second to the last be it further resolved, which establishes the advisory board because it's already in existence via TEC. We are also gonna replace the language and have TEC provide an update on the strategic plan that they're working on to include the information requested in this resolution and submit it to the legislature before the 2027 session. That's it for amendments, comments, questions, concerns. Seeing none, chair for the vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. Members voting on HCR 187, HR 177, Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. noting the excused absences of Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza. Members, are there any reservations or no's? Seeing none, recommendation adopted.
Thank you, Chair. For the next items, HCR 47, HR 43, this is on the establishment of foundations in public high schools. Members, we appreciate the testimony and discussion today and Mr. Awaya's dedication and commitment to Kalani High School. I think at this time, it might be too premature to get this done statewide, and we ask that the Department of Education provide them with resources and connecting them to the appropriate organizations such as HANO and HCF to assist in the establishment of the foundation. So we will defer these measures at this time. Okay. Next up, we have HCR 44, HR 40. This is to establish a artificial intelligence literacy curriculum with teachers. For this, members, we will pass as is. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Chair for the vote, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, voting on HCR 44, HR 40, Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. The recommendation is to pass unamended. I'll start that over. Members, voting on HCR 44, HR 40, the recommendation is to pass as is. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the excused absences of Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza. Members, are there any reservations or no's? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you, Chair. For the next measures, HCR 161, HR 151 on swimmer classification framework, same recommendation, pass as is. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Chair for the vote, please.
Thank you, members. Voting on HCR 161, HR 151, the recommendation is to pass as is. Noting the excused absences of Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza. Members, are there any reservations or no's? The recommendation is adopted, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Next up, we have HCR 102, HR 94, establishing the peer counselor program to address youth loneliness and social disconnections in Hawaii schools. We will pass out an HD1. We will amend the title to match the first be it resolved clause, simply adding urging the Department of Education in collaboration with the Department of Health and Office of Wellness and Resilience to the title, and we will also take the suggested testimony from DOE, which Office of Wellness and Resilience supported, which is to add a be it further resolved recommending a phased approach. This is in the DOE testimony to begin with the pilot peer counselor programs and then extending the timeline. So we will take that. And that's it. Any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Chair for the vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. Members, voting on HCR 102, HR 94, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting the excused absences of Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza. Members, are there any reservations or no's? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. Next up, we have HCR 107, HR 94, urging DOE on equity for students with chronic and autoimmune illness. We are going to pass this as is. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Chair for the vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. Members, voting on HCR 107 and HR 99, the recommendation is to pass as is, noting the excused absences of Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza. Members, are there any reservations or no's? Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. Next up, we have HCR 118, HR 110, urging DOE to adopt a comprehensive menstrual health cycle curriculum. We are going to make several amendments, so bear with me, please. We'll pass out on HD1. I appreciate this measure because I am one of those students. I was raised by a single dad, so can't imagine how that conversation was when I got my period myself and having to figure out navigating the grocery store together was very, very awkward situation. So appreciate this being introduced, so appreciate the author. So we will adopt some of the suggested amendments from DOE. First, on page 3, lines 6 to 9, we will include skills-based content on comprehending concepts, on health promotion, analyzing influences, accessing information, communication, decision-making, goal setting, healthy behaviors, and advocacy. On page 3, lines 20 to 21, item 5 will state that it's age appropriate and provides defined goals for students in grades 3 to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 through 12. On page 4, lines 1 to 3 and 25 to 27 to state culturally relevant views and practices related to the menstrual cycle, including Native Hawaiian views and cultural practices related to the menstrual cycle, along with related Western views and practices. And then finally, we will also include in the third be it further resolved clause to include under item 3, this is page 3, lines 8 through 41, a new clause, E, to include how to manage menstruation-related pain. And that's it for the amendments, comments, questions, concerns. Seeing none, Chair for the vote, please.
Thank you. Members voting on HCR 118, HR 110, the recommendation is to pass with amendments noting the excused absences of Representatives Garrett, Keela, Marolta, and Souza. Members, are there any reservations or no's? Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Next up, HCR 42, HR 38, recognizing cheerleading as a Title IX sport. We are going to pass this as is. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Chair for the vote, please.
Thank you, members voting on HCR 42, HR 38. The recommendation is to pass unamended, noting the excused absences of Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza. Are there any reservations or no? Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. Next items, HCR 176, HR 166, policies and procedures on the oral antihistamines in public schools. For this one, we are just going to add one amendment on item 2, page 2, lines 10 to 11 to read to have a current individualized physician-directed allergy response protocol that explicitly authorizes the use of oral antihistamines on file developed by a licensed physician or authorized healthcare provider. Comments, questions, concerns? None. Chair for the vote, please.
Thank you, members voting on HCR 176, HR 166. The recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Members, are there any reservations or no? Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza excused. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. HCR 84, HR 76, removing carcinogens from school meals. We will pass this as is. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Chair for the vote, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members voting on HCR 84, HR 76, the recommendation is to pass unamended. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye, noting the excused absences of Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza. Members, are there any reservations or no's? Your recommendation is adopted, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair. We are on HCR 94, HR 86, on Farmer to Institution Coordination Plan aligned with Aina Kitchen. We are going to pass out an HT1, simply adding a new whereas clause and be it further resolved clause, noting Hawaii Farm Bureau's testimony that the plan be complementary or should complement the Nourishing Hawaii's Future initiative. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Chair for the vote.
Thank you. Voting on HCR 94, HR 86, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or no's? Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza are excused. Your recommendation is adopted, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Chair. And final measures on our agenda, HCR 195, HR 185 on responding to the auditor's report. we are going to pass out an HD1, simply adding to the distribution list the Speaker of the House and Senate President of the Hawaii State Legislature. Seeing as they would designate working group members. That's it. Comments, questions? I'm sorry. Seeing none, Chair for the vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members voting on HCR 95, HR 185, the recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absences of Representatives Garrett, Keela, Muraoka, and Souza. Members, are there any reservations or no's? Madam Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. We are adjourned.